You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 137, Deep Purple Turning to Crime, Part 1. And coming to you from the crime-ridden suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Head Cold Matola.
Oh, my goodness.
You can kind of hear it.
Cold.
You can kind of hear it. When I was saying it, I'm like, yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah. You got a head cold for the holidays. That's not cool. Well, for the holiday in America, we are just getting over our thing. Getting over
a head cold.
Yeah. We're getting over
a headache.
Thanksgiving. I made it sound like Thanksgiving is a malady.
It is.
Which to us it is. But yeah, for most of the country, people go home, see family, relax, eat a lot of turkey. We mostly work.
Yeah, so I think that contributed to my becoming weakened and being subject to a cold. I'm like, what is this? Like, and I haven't had it. Like, I haven't even had a sniffle in 2 years. I'm like, do people still get a cold anymore? Like,
not really. Is the
and
answer.
then yeah, but it's legit a cold, which now I just kind of sound kind of maybe a little hoarse, but
yeah, I mean, for anyone that doubts the effectiveness of masks. I mean, my children would routinely come, miss all of the school, come home sick with this and that all the time. And in the past 2 years, they have not been sick at all. No,
that's great.
Usually there's a stomach bug that goes through the family. There's a couple of colds. I mean, for the most part, with the exception of a couple tiny little things, the last 2 years have been smooth sailing. And, mostly from where me and my wife getting it from? We're getting it from the kids bringing it home from school. And now we're not anymore, which is great. So when you do get something, you get that. I think I've probably had one cold in the past 2 years, and it's like, this is bullshit. I shouldn't have to get colds. Why am I wearing this uncomfortable mask all day at work if I'm still going to get a cold?
Well, I mean, it's better than getting COVID. So,
Yes, that is also very true. So,
yes. I'll take it.
So yeah, if you want to help support the Deep Purple Podcast, you can do so a number of ways. One is by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and that will earn you a run on the Flexitone. I'm not going to play it for you now because we don't have any new reviews, and I don't want to give it away. But I will give this Flexitone a special spin for you if you write us a 5-star review. So
there you go.
That should, and that's free. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you do want to give us some financial contribution, you can buy merch at our Etsy store. We've got t-shirts and mugs available. And then you can also become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. On PayPal, you just click the little make this a monthly donation box. The patron to become a patron on Patreon, just go over to Patreon, search our show, click the link in the show notes. You can join for any tier you want. And speaking of patrons, we have coming in at the executive level patron tier, we have at the £10 tier, Dr. Jill Brees. At the turn it up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Mickelstein. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, we have Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Gerald Kelly, and Victor Campos. And coming in, kind of like, well, I guess we'll give it a little one of these. Richard Fusey is always mixing it up. He is a man that cannot be contained to one tier. He mixes it up. He has not checked the month, make this a monthly donation thing. He just every month decides how much he's going to give. So this month he's in the new $9.99 executive assistant tier, which I've just created for him. Richard Fusey, thank you so much for your continued support and keeping us on our toes. I don't know if this is actually lining up with when you donate with the way we record shows, but hopefully we're keeping it somewhat consistent. So we appreciate it, Richard, all of your support. And to all of our executive level patrons.
And then a retroactive heyo.
A retroactive heyo. Heyo.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Heyo.
So update, we are still, although as we record this just a couple of days ago, they announced a new Omicron variant of COVID. So hopefully it's hopefully it's not a big deal. Hopefully, sometimes they say I guess they just don't know. They discover a new variant and they're like, we don't know. This might be more contagious. It might be less. It might be more, whatever it is. It might, what everyone I think is afraid of is something that resists the vaccine, which so far it seems like the vaccine's been holding up pretty good. But as of now, we are planning on being in Florida, February 10th and February 12th. In Hollywood, California on the 10th, we are seeing Deep Purple at the Hard Rock Live Arena on John's birthday.
Hi-yo!
Turning 30 years old finally, and celebrating in style at the Hard Rock Live Arena in Hollywood, California. And then 2 days later, on my dad's birthday, also
Hi-yo!
Abraham Lincoln's birthday, February 12th, St. Petersburg, Florida, at the Mahaffey Theater. So tickets, I'll have links in the show notes if you want to buy tickets. There's some seats available, but not a ton.
Abe Lincoln's birthday. I cannot tell a lie. No, wait, that's the other guy.
Well,
what did Abe Lincoln do?
What did Abe Lincoln do? I don't know, not much.
No, what did he say?
Well, that guy was a bum. What did he say? 407 tickets ago.
That's what I meant. I cannot tell a
Deep
lie.
Purple in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I cannot tell a lie.
I cannot tell a lie. I got the wrong former president. Whoops.
Close enough. Well, they share President's Day now. It's no longer separate holidays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be in Florida with the family before the shows, and I was actually talking to Rich the other day, and he was asking how I was gonna get from Orlando to Miami, and I said, well, he said, are you gonna? I don't know if he said, you want me to pick you up or what are you gonna do? I was like, well, that's kind of a long drive. I was gonna rent a car, but then I was like, well, no, I'm getting, my mom and dad are gonna drive me. It's because they're coming with us to Orlando, so I'm getting a ride with my mom and dad.
That's great. It's like, yeah, my mom and dad are going to drop me off at my friends to go to the Deep Purple concert.
Exactly. It's been a while. It's been a while since I got a ride from mom and dad to do. Mom,
sounds like such a teenage thing.
To the Deep Purple show. Will you bring me? And then I'll be like, could you drop me off like a few blocks away? I don't want anyone to see.
I don't want to seem uncool in front of my 50-year-old friends.
Exactly. Just drop me off here. I'll just play cool. They'll be like, we love you. I'll be like, yeah, whatever.
Shut up, go away.
Shut up, come on, just be cool. And we're hoping to do some meetups before both of the shows, depending on what the time frame is and everything. And if you're going to be in the area and be at the shows and want to meet up, just keep in touch with us on the social media channels. You can email, whatever. There's a million ways. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the stuff, and you can send me and John an email, whatever you want, and we'll try to figure out if you have our Facebook information or whatever you want. We'd love to meet up with whoever we can meet up with. We had kind of hoped to do that at the Dead Daisies show, but it didn't really come together because it was kind of a last minute thing. So
yeah, so but I mean, this is Florida, so there's a meet up at the house, some drinks, meet up at the beach, some drinks for the show there.
Show, hang out at the Lanai.
The Golden Girls. I've never heard of a lanai outside of the Golden Girls.
I've never heard one mentioned or referenced once outside of the Golden Girls.
So we were talking about it. It's like, yeah, we're gonna rent a sick ass house, and we're gonna have some cheesecake on the lanai.
I'm gonna set my alarm for like 3 a.m. to wake up and go into the kitchen and have some cheesecake. I'll see you sitting there in your nightie with your purse on the table.
My robe, just like, I'll get the cheesecake. What's the problem, Nate?
I got some really big problems to discuss, so we need to do it over cheesecake.
So if anybody doesn't know the reference to that, it's the Golden Girls, which I feel, I don't know. You know what? I have no idea if anybody would even know. Most people would be like, the hell are they talking about? I
don't think it's a big international. I think they've done like different international versions of it. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's aired in some countries, but it's an American sitcom from like the early 80s, I guess. With like these old women who are basically the age we are now, but they look on the show.
No, they were like, I think when the show started, they were like probably 50s, maybe mid 50s, early 60s.
Rue McClanahan was 50 when that show debuted.
Jesus.
50. Like you and I could have played one of her boyfriends on the show. Like
one of her younger boyfriends.
She always had the slightly younger, slightly younger.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, to think about it, you're talking about like, like either retired or in their, not retired, but semi-retired or in their golden years, women living in Florida. But the best part about it is that it's just like, especially if you watch back, like after not seeing it for a while, like, yeah, it's really dated to the 80s, but it's almost like, I feel like when I'm in Florida, like, nothing ever really changes. So it's like, I feel like, yeah, this is probably accurate to how Florida is now. But
I hope the house we stay at has like big wicker chairs so we can really feel like
but it's like some of like they're always like quipping and insulting each other, and they're supposed to be like housemates and best friends, and like, two of them are like mother and daughter, and they're always like insulting the shit out of each other. It's like, and the gratuitous use of the word slut in that show
they're always calling Blanche you slut.
Yeah, they're just like,
that's where I remember that's how I learned the word slut was from that show.
But it's like, it's so funny because it's just like, you stole my boyfriend, you slut. It's like, what?
Yeah, and then it's just like Dorothy being all like, Rose is just a dummy, so she'd be like, no, Rose, that's not what I mean.
That's not what I meant.
It's a great show. It holds up pretty well. We watched, it was one of our COVID shows that we kind of rewatched a bit of it.
It's so funny.
It is. It's a great show. Highly recommend if you want to know what it's like being a divorcee or widow in your 50s in Florida in the early 80s. You got to seek this show out if you're one of our international listeners. If you're one of our American listeners, you're probably intimately familiar with the show because it was hard to avoid. But I know I saw like there was a Croatian version of it from like more recently, maybe like 15 or 20 years ago. And I saw it and it was like the same like dynamic and everything. And of course I didn't really know what they were talking about, but I can't remember where I saw that clip, but I have to search on YouTube for some different international versions. So before we get into the episode, if you're looking for some more like-minded shows to ours, check out deepdivepodcastnetwork.com. Trying to integrate that a little bit more with all the shows, but hopefully we can get all of our shows kind of feeding into there. But right now it's just kind of a link to all the different shows. There's also Deep Dive Pod Net on Twitter you can follow, and that's where we've got Sabbath Bloody Podcast, Skinner Reconsidered, our podcast, T-Bone's Prime Cuts, In the Lap of the Pods, the Queen Podcast, the Magicians Podcast, which is a Uriah Heep podcast, Hawk Binge, which is a Hawkwind podcast, Made in A to Z, which is more self-explanatory, Diary of the Madmen, you could probably figure out as an Aussie podcast, Universally Speaking, which is a Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast, and Metal Gods podcast, which is a Judas Priest podcast. So lots of great hosts, lots of great shows, doing the single band deep dive sort of thing similar to ours. So if you like any of those bands, check it out. And John's having a little bit of a snicker over there. What's going on?
I'm sorry.
What happened?
I just remembered one of the insults from the Golden Girls, and I just started laughing while you were talking.
What was
it? When Sophia called Blanche a human mattress.
And you've got to say, Estelle Getty's delivery was just perfect.
She goes, "Thanks, you human mattress."
Human mattress. Oh my goodness. But for more on that, you're gonna have to tune into our upcoming Golden Girls rewatch podcast, where we'll rewatch every episode of the Golden Girls and break them apart and talk about our favorite bits. But
if anybody wants that as a bonus episode, let us know. Which I'm sure nobody will want a bonus episode of that. So, anyways.
I would love to do a companion. I don't know if it would be a companion to this podcast. I was going to call it a companion podcast where we talk about the Golden Girls, nothing to do with Deep Purple. But yeah, I would love to do that. So anyway, we're here today not to talk so much about the Golden Girls, but to talk about the new Deep Purple album. Just came out. I was going to hold up my copy, realized I left it upstairs. Oh well.
Hey,
it came in the other day. Got a great, nice little book. I actually went to the library right before here so I could scan all the images into the computer. Took my kids to the library and checked out some books, but I have not listened to it yet though. I've heard bits and pieces from what they've released leading up to the album being released. But what I wanted to do, like we normally do, is keep it have it more be like a real-time reactions podcast. We, as of recording now, our last episode that came out was reactions and reviewing a live stream where we listen to all the original songs. Now we're going to hear at least the first half of the album of what the Deep Purple versions are.
So now are we are we going to listen to these through like we did the originals, or are we going to stop and rate them like we do a
No, let's
regular
stop.
album?
Let's stop and rate them. I think we've got them on the sheet. Let's see. Yeah, we'll stop. We'll give them our ratings. And the ratings are, this is a new thing for the band. And I guess that's a good time to talk about it as I open this spreadsheet here. It's a new thing for the band coming out with a all. They've done a couple of covers here and there over the years. And this is a full covers album. So that's, obviously a little bit different. And I think we can rate them basically based on what the Deep Purple spin is that they put on the songs, as well as what we think of the songs overall. Because I know when we listened to this, when we listened to these originals, some of them were new to us. Some of them we'd heard a million times. So it'll be interesting to kind of go based on that. So yeah, so when this, I guess before we get to kind of the overall stuff about the album, in the lead up to the album, so there were rumors about it. Deep Purple's in the studio making a new album, and those have been swirling for a while, but then it kind of got dropped by Fnac in France, the retailer, that they posted accidentally on their website early, or who knows, maybe it was part of the marketing plan all along. They posted the track list, it became very clear immediately that this was an all covers album. And do you remember like what your initial feeling was when you heard that Deep Purple was going to be an all covers album?
Not particularly excited, just because of what I said on our last episode when we were listening to the originals, is just whole cover albums have never really done it for me. So I was just kind of like, I would say like, not like ugh, but I was just like indifferent, I'm like, all right. But I mean, after listening to the originals on the last show that we did, I'm now more interested to hear the Purple versions. I would say probably the only cover, it's not really a cover album, but I would say the closest thing to a cover album that I really liked is Speak of the Devil, because it's basically like, Ozzy like covering Black Sabbath, which I mean, he's really not, but I mean, it's basically him and another band doing it when he had already had like 2 albums of his own songs and was doing a tour where he was playing other songs, but they made the set list seem like he was doing a whole Sabbath set. So to me, that's like probably the closest thing to an entire album of quote unquote covers that I actually like really enjoyed. And you know what? I could be wrong, but I mean, come to think of it, is there any other album or live album where another artist, like a singer, will like cover a bunch of their old band songs, like on it, like update them and put them on a new album?
The closest thing I can think of is like the Purple album,
Coverdale.
Yeah. So
actually, you know what? That's true.
That's
he did. Good call.
The closest I can think of. It's like him doing all the songs where he was a singer with a new band behind him.
And you know what? That's a great example. And I remember being really excited about that because it's essentially like, somebody going, and I mean, for David Coverdale, it was a lot, many more years in the future than when Ozzy did it, because for him, it was
Ozzy
only
was just a few years removed, whereas Coverdale was 30, 40 years or however.
Right. But I mean, he was not only like doing just Purple songs, but he was like handling like vocal duties of like, what Glenn Hughes originally did too. And, the songs were updated and they were like heavier. So I was really interested in seeing like, oh, what are his modern day takes on this? So those are the kind of like, I don't know what you call them. I guess they're not really a cover album, but I guess kind of a, the cousin once removed of a cover album,
It's like a reimagining. Yeah. It's like, can you cover a song that you wrote just because it's a new band? It's like, it's still your song. You can do kind of with it whatever you want.
And I
I
mean, I
can't.
don't typically like that, type of thing,
No, no, I kind of like, you would rather just kind of leave the past in the past. It's kind of,
Well, it
it
depends,
it's interesting. Like the Purple album is interesting. But
Well, I like
yeah.
it because he's not doing like one whole, like, Twisted Sister went back and they re-recorded like Stay
Mhm.
Hungry
Yep.
years later, like just like redoing, like, I don't like it when bands go back and redo a whole album because they're just like, oh, this is how it should have sounded. It's like,
Didn't
just leave it alone, you
didn't
know?
Def Leppard do that with Hysteria?
I don't know.
I
I
want to
know that
say
there are
like,
some bands that have updated.
I want to say Def Leppard, like there was some sort of uh there was some sort of like contract thing, or
Maybe,
where
yeah,
they
to
weren't
get
able
it
to,
on Spotify or something.
something, I don't remember exactly what the story was, as I'm not a, a Led Zeppelin. I'm not like a huge like a Def
Def
Leppard, like
Leppard, yeah.
I like them and everything, but I never like really follow their stuff. But I want to say they like re-recorded it and it sounds like exactly like the
Yeah.
original, but they're able to monetize this in a way like wherever, whatever, they were getting screwed, I guess, in the original deal, and this is something, at least as what I remember from the story.
Well, I know that Kiss had done the same thing with various songs where, I think they're with Universal. Now, don't quote
Mhm.
me on it. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. But I guess like in order to get the rights to have like, their some of their own songs, like in like the Scooby-Doo movie, which they did a few years back, like they had
Yep.
to re-record like I Was Made for Loving You and other things like that with the current band. And I don't know if it was necessarily because they wanted the new versions of it, but to get around like the rights of using the original songs, which they possibly don't own, is my guess,
Mhm.
is that they had to re-record. And I know some bands have done that. It's like, oh, why'd they re-record the song? And it's a lot of it is because
Yeah.
licensing and rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
all that legal stuff is such a mess. Like, I can't even imagine how difficult it is navigating through all of that stuff. Like, somebody like Coverdale's got such a he still, I think he just got the rights to his like original solo albums like a year
yes,
or
I
two
think he
ago.
did. Yep.
And it's incredible because how old those albums are, going on 50 years old, and he just secured the rights, whereas like we're now like somebody of his stature with his level of power in the industry can have like huge control over his catalog. But when you're starting out, that's kind of one of the sad things about the industry, is the artist gets screwed more often than
Mhm.
not. But yeah, I can't think of, let us know, send us a note on Twitter or whatever, if you know of any, if you can think of any other albums, because I can't think of any other real albums where it's like a band doing a full cover out. Like there's plenty of like tribute albums, or like, where multiple artists are covering one artist or whatever, but I can't think of a ton of albums where it's one band doing all covers on the album. Um, so anyway, when this was announced, it was almost universally negative. What I heard from everybody, oh, this is terrible, and it was about. But when you think about it, the alternative would have been them releasing a second studio album when they're not even all living in the same countries. Um,
Right.
how, and to do back-to-back albums in 2020 and 2021 for a band these days is unheard of. I mean, the Deep Purple haven't released back-to-back albums since what, like 75, when they did Stormbringer and Come Taste the Band in the same
Mhm.
year. And I think they had an album every year from 68 to 75. I don't think there's a year that they missed in there. So but that's just not the way things are done anymore, and they're obviously more mature and older, and so bands of this type don't really write at that rate. They put out an album, they tour for a few years, they put out another album. So it would have been a little unrealistic to imagine that they were going to do that. But I think, and from my standpoint, it sure seems like over the past whatever month or two, as more information's come out about it, and they've done a great job with marketing on this one, um, I think people really warmed to it. And then when they saw the track list and when they heard some of the snippets of the songs, people really turned around to it. So I think it's I think they've done a really good job. Speaking of the marketing, they've also done this thing where it's like they're releasing all of these clues, and you fill in the missing letters, and then you're supposed to be entered in a prize to win, a what was it, like a Stingray bass that was autographed by the band, which is pretty cool. So I have one of the clues was this phone number you called in Hamburg, Germany. I'm going to give it a call right now, actually. I'm pulling it up on my phone, and we can listen to you hear like a little voicemail message, and that's one of the clues. So this is an idea of some of the cool marketing things they're doing for this album. So here we go.
Hi, thank you for calling Now What Legal Services. We're now patching you through to Roger Glover in Wormwood Prison.
Hello, listen, we're in trouble. We've been locked up. We got caught stealing some music. Although, yeah, we took some songs, but we were going to give them back. We put them on an album called Turning to Crime. And we just got to get out of here because we're just bored silly.
All inmates report to Block C and all officers report to Block Y. I repeat, that's C and Y.
Gillan is knitting, Don talking to the wall as usual. Steve's making banjos out of biscuit tins, and Paice is digging a tunnel. So, okay, listen, go to turningtocrime.com because the album's out November 26th. And don't forget to pre-order. Okay, thanks, man. Bye.
So that's one of the little marketing things they did, which is pretty cool. And I think they really embraced this whole idea. The whole concept behind the album is like, it's a crime to do covers, and they're kind of just, I like the fact that they're just playing that up. Really playing that up with this album. The whole thing is just, oh, you've got all these mug shots, and we'll get into the booklet in a second, but the whole idea is, oh, it's a crime. You can't do cover albums. You got to write originals. And obviously, I think where I kind of fall on it is there was a lot of negativity about this album. And I guess my thought of it is, well, the alternative is really nothing. I mean, they did it. They had fun. It's really cool how they did it and did this all remotely. They weren't even any of them together while they did this.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want? The alternative is they don't do anything. We just wait for them to tour again in a few months. So, I mean, I don't really see what the harm is in them putting this album out. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it.
Exactly.
And it's a great way for them. I mean, they're a band. You could be like, people are like, oh, it's a money grab. Like, the thing is, they have an organization to support too. They've got people that work for them and all of that. So that have been largely sitting dormant for 2 years now. So,
well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, I don't like it when people say that. They're like, oh, it's a money grab. It's like, yeah, so what? It's like we all need to make a living. I mean, it's just like
they say that when you turn up to work in the morning. Oh, look at this guy showing up to work. What a money grab.
It's like, I'd be like, yeah, I got a friggin' mortgage. So,
exactly.
Yeah, money grab. Yeah, I want to go on vacation. I want to, I want to live a decent life here. So yeah, if I had a chance to money grab, I would too. But I mean, it's like, It's vote with your wallet. It's like, if you like it, then buy it and buy into it. If you don't, then ignore it and go listen to In Rock or something,
Yep. It's still out there. Last time I checked. Still plays. I think my copy back there still plays. I'll have to check it out after the show. But yeah, so I guess I'm not going to say I wasn't initially disappointed too. I was like, oh, covers album, but I warmed up to it really quick. And from the little bits I've heard, it sounds great. And the fact that they're recording this in all their own home studios doesn't sound super evident from what I've heard.
Yeah, there's a did you hear, I know that you had referenced it in like our group text with Rich, that he was on, Roger Glover was on Mitch LaFon's podcast recently. I think it was like a 50, I heard it. Did you hear it?
It was about 15-minute interview.
Yeah, it was like a 15-20 minute interview. Not a ton of insight except for, just confirming that, yeah, they were not together during the recording of this. So to me, that makes it even more interesting, because I'm just like, I mean, I know that people get, put tracks together. And I mean, we've heard it a lot over the pandemic, people,
sure.
Jamming and doing like, putting out, cool stuff, like all in separate places, doing like, the grid videos, this guy's over here, this guy's over here. But hearing Deep Purple do it is like, I feel even more impressive, because you got these guys who are like, started off where this was not technology. And, kind of like how we were talking about in the House of Blue Light episode, where we felt like they were kind of embracing the technology of the day with some of like the, the sounds, or even like, maybe the drum sounds or the production that they were using. That this is kind of another adaptation. It's like, well, we all can't be together, so let's do something fun from all different places, like not even seeing each other, kind of like what we've done for the first couple of years with this show, and then we never even saw each other in person, but we collaborated like from a distance, until recently, and now again.
Yeah. And well, that's the kind of the world that everyone adapted to in the last couple of years. So why not?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's open up this album, get into so first of all, obviously we start with the cover. John, what do you think about the cover of this album?
It looks like there was some time put into it, which I like about it. I tend to like album covers like this, it's it's kind of like harrowing. You look at these guys and you're like, oh my God, they look terrible. But I mean, I think it was like
it must have been almost a year ago that picture of Gillan came out. It was a long time ago. The picture of Gillan came out as like a photo shoot, and they showed Gillan, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's really just letting his hair grow, and what's going on? And there was no indication why that photo shoot happened or anything.
Right.
So it was just like, well, I was like, to me, I was just like, yeah, I can relate. I let my hair go during the pandemic too. So, but then it turns out it kind of was used for this cover.
But I mean, I kind of like it because, I mean, obviously it goes with the theme of the album. And I think everything from like the cover to like, you were talking about the marketing campaign and everything shows that they're putting some effort into it. They're having fun. And I mean, the fact that they've even still like writing new music for the past like several years is something that like, this is all stuff that like newer bands aren't doing as much. So, this is something cool for people that like that physical product aspect, can pick up and just be like, yeah, this is a really great album, a really cool album cover. I like it too, because it's just a really, it kind of shows that like, I'm sure that, the sepia tone and like the other filters, like, you can put on like a filter where like, when you go into Target and you see that like that self-checkout camera and you're just like, oh God, I look like that.
Yeah.
It's like, but not really. It's like this, like, I think it's like this thing that makes you like really like, shows every imperfection in your face or whatever. I mean, these guys weren't afraid whether they actually look like this or not, to just kind of put it out there and just be like, yeah, we're going to look raw and like, just kind of like terrible. And like, like we're really in prison or whatever. And just, they're not afraid to like, put an unattractive image of themselves out there, whether it's real or whether it's to kind of promote the concept of the album, which I think is cool, because so many people are, in the industry can be like, a vain or try and put on the, the show or whatever. I mean, we've talked about how like there are a lot of guys from this era or the 80s, that wear like, wigs and hair pieces, and they commit to the look, wearing
And
like,
leather and all that,
wearing leather and everything, and like 90-degree weather and like all this stuff. And then you got these guys and they're just like, whatever, we're doing our thing. So I like it.
They did a cool thing too, where like the lead up to the album, they released all these little short videos on social media that was like the counting down. It was like 2 days to go, and then they did like a little video, almost like looked like if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, like the little video of like Sirius Black, like the pictures in the Wizarding World actually move. It kind of looked like that. Like
Yeah.
there's a mug shot of Steve Morse, and you get the front and then the side shot. And it's kind of funny because like Steve Morse, they have different sentences for all of them. Steve Morse for aiding and abetting and inciting euphoric anarchy, 15-year sentence. And it's like funny, Steve Morse looks like he's mean mugging, he just like really looks nasty. And then Ian Paice is like he's got this little pout on his face, like because they're not actors, but Ian Pace got
Ian
this little,
Pace looks like, let me out of here.
he kind of looks like Droopy Dog. He's like, he's got this little mug
Yeah.
and this little pout, and
He looks like he's beaten down, like, oh God, somebody get me out of here.
and then I love Don Airey, because Don Airey looks like he's like kind of smiling as he goes to the side, like he's got a smirk on his face, like he can't even pretend to not be a super nice guy. He's just
Yeah.
he's always smiling. Ian Gillan's got he looks like the mafia Don, and he's like posing with the photo. So it's kind of cool. Check it out on social media. It's really cool little videos there. But that's the front cover. Back cover, and throughout the album there's a lot of like redacted, like blacked out words, and I don't know if that's part of the clues you're supposed to use to guess. I don't know. I haven't even been attempting that because I'm so bad at like riddles and puzzles like that, so I don't even know how that's going to end up. But it's got the track listing with some blacked out stuff, and the inside, when you open it up, it's kind of like they're like the cutouts of their heads pasted onto the bodies, so it looks almost like they took like other people and lined them up and then cut their heads out and put them on there. And then when you open the booklet, right on the booklet, it says, take 5 unemployed musicians under house arrest, add a smattering of technology, mix in a spoonful of songs that shaped us over the years, bake for a few months, and this disc is the result. Serve with a pinch of salt and play loud. It's all handwritten, so it's a little harder to read. And then on the inside, they've got obviously just normal stuff, engineered by Julian Shank and Bob Ezrin, mastered by Robert Vogian, production coordinator Kim Markovchik. And then it's got a thanks to, and then track listing, obviously. And then you go through here, it's got the management team listed, and then each character gets their own kind of 2-page fold out, and it looks like it's all handwritten by each of them. So you've got it says Ian Gillan, name Alan Ingley, so it's like an anagram for Ian Gillan, and it says suspect's declaration of defense: get stuffed.
What?
That's his defense. And then he wrote the crime. He says, I told you there was no crime. And then he goes into this whole thing. He's got his fingerprints there, probably not his real fingerprints. Then you've got Ian Pace there. He's like loading a drum into his car, and he looks like he just got caught red-handed.
The picture of him, I'm sorry, it makes me think, it just makes me go back to like the Glenn Hughes Christmas album cover, where you're just like, all right, tell me when you're going to take the picture. Oh, what, you already took it? Ah, damn it. He's like,
the photographer's already in the car driving on his way home. I already got the picture, thank you.
He goes, Ian. He's like, huh? Click. All right, got it. See ya.
And then of course they're all being like being cheeky here. Name, yes, I have one. Alias, secret, city, prefer villages. So he's saying it wasn't me. His signature, I am drummist Ian Pace. Then you've got Roger Glover here. Name, Reverend Roger Glover. Alias, All Saints Highway base. Base in I can't read that. Incanation. I plead major, minor, and diminished responsibility, your lordship. Oh no, it's Reverend Roger Good. Is it Google? I don't know. That might be a reference that I'm just not getting. And then you've got Steve Morse here looking real mean. City, Miami, USA. Playing guitar is not a crime, he writes. So kind of cool. I like how they really went with it. The layout and the graphics on the whole thing is just really, really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely shows that they took a lot of time with it and made it something interesting and fun that you'd want to buy. Like, this is something that if you couldn't see it like this, or you'd want to pick up the album with the inserts and everything and go through it and read all this funny stuff and look at the pics, and you know,
Yeah,
enjoy
I think it's kind of
play
come
out.
full circle. Like years ago, like you'd buy the vinyl or whatever, and there'd be inserts and things to read while you're listening to the album. Then we
Yeah.
got to the days like in the late 80s, early 90s, where you get the CD and you slide out the booklet, it's just white on the back. There's nothing, and you're just like, this sucks. And then we've kind of come back to a place where with digital downloads and everything, they have to give you some reason, because if this was just nothing, why would you buy it? You just stream it or get the digital download. So so it's kind of cool to really have this. Don Airey's handwriting is a little tricky to read. I can barely read any of it. I'm trying. Suspect's declaration of defense. Maybe the something me, it was me and cool done it. I don't know. I can't read it. It's
Yeah, me
hard to
neither.
read. But really cool packaging, and like I said, just very, very well done. There's the back cover there with all of their social stuff. Again, one thing before we move on is somebody mentioned, I can't remember who it was. I saw in one of the Facebook groups, probably somebody mentioned something about the album, which is this is the first time you've got a depiction of the members of the band on an album cover in a really long time. I'm thinking maybe Come Taste the Band might be the last one. Have they done anything more recently than that?
You know what? I don't think, maybe save for a live album.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. From a
But, I
studio
mean,
album standpoint, I can't
not
think
that
if
I
there
can
was-
think of. No.
It's been a while. Yeah, I can't remember what the last one. Pull up a list right here just to see, but you know, it was quite commonly done throughout the 70s. But since they reformed, I don't know if they've ever done a depiction of them on the cover. So it's kind of an interesting note. Okay, so that's the album art. Lots to discuss there, and here we are. Before we get into the tracks, I think we have to do something, and that is, of course, to thank our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith, Anton Glaving, and Richard. Oh, not Richard Fusey. Gotta get rid of you on the list. You've moved up. You've moved up to the just barely squeaking in the executive level tier. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore. The $5.99 Nice Price tier, we have Fielding Fowler and Robert Smith. The $5 Moneylender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Kev Roberts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, and Tim Southern Gross Johnson. Thank you so much to all of you for your support of the Deep Purple podcast. All right. We ready to get into it?
Heck yeah.
All right. This first track is a track from the 1966 album Da Capo by the band Love. And so when this first came out, I had never heard of the song when I saw this track listing, but I heard it. The Ramones did a cover of it, so I listened to the Ramones version, thinking it was a Ramones song, and then learned after that it was actually originally from this album. So here we are, the song 7 and 7 is. I love that synth tone.
When I was a boy, I thought about the times I'd be a man. I'd sit inside a bottle and pretend that I was in the can. The him only rumors if a mind is an ice cream cone. Yeah, we can throw me if you want.
I like Gillan's in. Yeah, he does that so much lately. It's awesome. And the first 3 tracks on this already have official videos out, so you can check those too in the links in the show notes.
Huh.
Well, if I don't start crying, it's because that I have got no eyes. My father's in the fireplace and my dog lies hypnotized. But through a crack in light, I was unable to find my
I like that really vintage synth sound that Don Airey's getting on this one.
I'm trapped inside a night, but I'm a day, and I go beep, 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 yeah. 'Cause 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 you.
Can't get over Ian Pace.
Yeah, he's killing it. It's like almost reminds me of what he does on Burn. The just
Yeah, I mean,
killer
still
snare work
bringing
during the
it.
verse. And it sounds great. I mean, they're all in their home studios. They're not necessarily engineers, even though they've been in the business for a while. But I remember Don Airey giving an interview recently. He was like, "I'm not used to doing this." I don't know what he's using for the solo, but it sounds great. Explosion at the end there.
Oh, get in and get out.
Pretty cool. 7-7 is 2.5 minutes. Got a killer guitar solo, killer keyboard solo, great keyboard tone from Airey. I don't know, maybe might be a Moog he's using. I don't know, but like I said, he said he was like, I'm just used to showing up at the studio, and now I had to like actually get all my wires out and hook things up, and I'm sure he got some. I don't know. I'm sure they. Luckily, there's never been an easier time to record at home than now with just all of the tools out there that exist software wise. So I'm sure that's Bob Ezrin's still pulling all the final levers. So it's why it sounds great. But
Okay.
what do you think of 7-7 is?
I mean, I'll give that one a 4 for, just the energy.
Mhm.
I like it. I like the sound. I still love how Gillan, whether it's in the it's a little studio tweaking or whatever. It's like I close my eyes and I hear the same Gillan that I've been hearing for the past 30 years. I mean, he's not hitting those high notes, but I mean his like average singing voice like sounds the same, which is like amazing.
Yeah, it's 75 to be belting it out like that, and yeah, like you said, he doesn't do the screams anymore, but it doesn't matter, and it's great to just adapt to what he has to adapt to. He has to understand that he understands perfectly what his voice is capable of, and he does it really well. I will also give this one a 4. I was not familiar with the song at all. I can't remember. I don't think I ever heard it before. Maybe I'd heard it in passing somewhere. Did not sound familiar to me at all, but I've really grown to really appreciate this song. And the other, I'm not a huge Ramones fan, but I listened to the Ramones one. I was like, I like this one too. I think I just like the song. So it's a good one.
Yeah, not a bad song. Yeah, you can definitely feel like that 60s vibe in it even today.
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd hear like in a Wes Anderson movie. He may have put this in one of his movies. I don't know. It sounds like, if not, he should, because it sounds like it could work. It would work well for him. It's got the perfect feel and the perfect length to it. So. All right, so here we go. Next track up is, of course, we're going to the roots of where this band is coming from, and Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu. Of course, from the 1959 Huey Smith and the Rhythm Aces album, Having a Good Time. I feel like this is a song that everyone has heard, right? There's a Don Piano Airey playing there. He should have called himself like Don Modular Synth Airey.
Wow, he's like dominating this song.
Yep. Well, It's a piano song. I'm sure he had a part in picking this one. Although it sounds like it's something that would, like, Glover and Gillan would really be into too.
Oh yeah, just listening to the beginning of this, so you know, sounds like a lost track from Accidentally on Purpose.
Yeah, but he throws in a little smoking water at the end. This is kind of like fun, like this song reminds me of something that they would have like done for Accidentally on Purpose. It just has a very like just that kind of fun loving, like, I don't want to say it negatively, but it just sounds like a throwaway, like, hey, let's just have fun in the studio sort of thing. Real horns in this?
Sounds like it.
Yep, so this has got sax, just sax and trumpet. Leo Green and Matt Holland, arranged by Leo Green. There you go. Nice.
I like how like bright the album sounds.
Yeah, it definitely does.
You know?
Yep. It's got a great sound to it, and it's great. You know, this is a band that's used to being in the studio and kind of jamming it all out together. So it's a different, you know, not only is it a different concept for them doing the covers, but it's a different way of recording, and it certainly has got all the energy and that you would expect from a band playing together, which is really cool. So what do you think of Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu?
I'll give that another 4.
All right.
Yeah. I like songs like this, you know, like you said, it's just like a fun, you know, a fun jam type of thing. It you know, kind of reminds me of Accidentally on Purpose, which, you know, I found we really enjoyed. Well, I mean, we already knew that, but you know,
of course. Yeah, I will also give this one a 4. It's fun, good energy, good song choice, keeping it interesting. So yeah, really good stuff. Next up we have the song Oh Well, Fleetwood Mac classic, written by Peter Green. So here we go. This one is we'll get right into it. This again, these first 3 songs, this is the third one they've released a video for. So I've actually seen the video for this one. I watched this one, and so I've heard this. This is one of the few songs, but this, and actually I guess all 3 of these first songs I've heard already. The other ones are going to be new for me. So so here we go right into Oh Well, as soon as I can find it. Here we go. And this is another one, obviously, I've heard a million times in classic rock radio. Pretty faithful, but it still sounds well modernized.
oh yeah.
I can't help about the shape I'm in. I can't sing, I ain't pretty, and my legs are thin. But don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to. Oh well.
It's pretty ballsy, even on the original, to just do a full verse with no accompaniment.
Yeah.
And for all the naysayers about Gillan's voice, you can go stuff it.
Yeah, go
Does a
suck an egg.
Great job. Go suck an egg, you Gillan haters. Classic Steve Morse style solo there. I feel like this is Steve Morse saying, speaking of go suck an egg, he's like, hey, Bob Ezrin, go suck an egg for making me play slow on the last album. I'm in my home studio. You can't get me from where you are.
What I think of you, I might not give the answer that you want me to.
It's cool because they're doing songs by some of their influence, the music they were influenced by, but Fleetwood Mac is more like a contemporary of theirs.
Yeah.
And they played many shows together. So cool. Very deep purple-ified.
Yeah. Yeah, that last part almost sounds like something that you know, that we would have heard in early Purple.
I can't help about the
Yeah,
shape
it sounds
I'm in.
very
I can't
Blackmore
sing, I ain't
Lord.
pretty and my legs are thin. But don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to. Oh, well.
And this is kind of some of the weird rumors that were floating around. In the video for this, they called him Scribble Face. There's a guy in the video, his face is all blacked out, like scribbled over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it looks suspiciously like Dave Gilmour. So then when we heard this part, I was like, wow, it sounds like Dave Gilmour's playing. It sounds like a Pink Floyd song here at the end. I'm pretty sure that that's still Morse.
I mean, when you got Bob Ezrin producing, you know, I'm sure that you know, it can't be helped that some stuff sounds like The Wall,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Yeah,
or
not
anything
surprising.
else for that matter. You know, some of the things that he's known for in his production. It's like, oh, that sounds like Alice Cooper. That sounds like Pink Floyd, or, you know, whatever.
Well, it's worth mentioning at this point that so the place is what we glossed over it when we went through the booklet, but Ian Paice recorded at his own home studio by James Paice, assuming a relative, perhaps his son, because I think his son had helped him with some of those videos before. Roger Glover recorded at Roger's home studio. Steve Morse recorded at Steve's home studio. Don Airey recorded at Don Harry's home studio, and Ian Gillan was recorded by Peter Sine and assisted by Faye Dahl at Real World Studios, which is I think they said something about like Ian Gillan's house, like studio had been, something happened to it or was robbed or something like that, like something crazy. But Real World Studios is I want to say it's somebody. I should have written it down, but it's somebody else's home studio that is like somebody we know, like another musician. But I'll have to. I'm sure everyone listening to this knows who it is and is calling me an idiot, so you can write in to tell me I'm an idiot and tell me who it was. So anyway, oh well, what do you think about that one, John?
Oh well, I'll give it a 3.5.
Oh well.
it was good. But it sounded, I don't know, maybe a little more measured than the other songs.
Mhm.
I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I like the production again. I liked, the song. I think I don't want to say it missed the mark, maybe a little bit, just in the execution. In that, I feel like that song would is better when it's more raw, and this is more of a polished sounding album. So, maybe lost a little bit of the edge, but it was, I thought it was still overall good.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. This is one of those songs that was just always around and I heard a million times, but I never really stopped to consider it. It's kind of a song I just grew up with, but I really like their take on it. I think they do a really good job. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 4 on that one. Okay, next track up is Jenny Take a Ride, original by Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And this was this one was written and composed by Bob Crew and Notris Johnson and Richard Penniman. And there's another Richard Penniman track on this a little bit later. So isn't there? As I recall, maybe. I don't know. It might have been one of the other one. It might be part of the
No, I think it was accidentally on purpose. There was a Little Richard song.
Okay.
I don't think he's.
But yes, I believe you are right. They do a Richard Penniman song on accidentally on purpose. Yes. All right, here we go. Next track up, Jenny Takes a Ride. Here we go.
Nice.
Nice, cool organ tone. Not an organ tone you really hear from. It's like more organy than purple organ.
Right.
I don't remember this one at all from when we did the original.
No?
No. And this is a song I don't think I was familiar with.
I'm a little familiar with it. They're doing it a little bit different.
Great little like shuffle beat from Pacey. Pace like rolls over the tom. Pretty distinctive of him. I'm guessing at 4.5 minutes for this song there's gonna be a few solos. This is reminding me of something. Reminded me of a certain Pot of Thunder holiday song.
Does it have to do with yams?
It does. I didn't realize that they had taken it from this.
They pop up in the most unexpected of places, don't they?
They do, yes. You don't hear Don Airey. It was kind of like John Lord. You don't hear him on piano enough. He's throwing in
Oh.
the
It's another one you don't hear very often either.
when he threw in the little we just referenced that organ solo on like a very recent episode, and it took me like a second to think of it, and again I can't think of it. And everyone's yelling at their podcast once again. But if you listen to the last episode, you know I know what it is. I just can't think of it. Nice. So that was that solo that he threw in. You know that one? It's very hard to think of it when I've just heard that song, and but
I know it's from something. Yeah.
Like literally a few episodes ago, we had this exact same discussion, and I can't. And then once again, I can't think of what the heck the name of the song is. But it's like an absolute classic. It's gonna drive me crazy. It drove me crazy. I'm gonna have to just write it down on a post-it note and keep it on my desk in case it happens again, because we just had this exact same conversation.
Yeah.
The last time I was successful, but I'm not gonna have you endure 15 minutes of me trying to figure out what it is. So, what do you think of Jenny Take a Ride?
Jenny Take a Ride, a 3.5.
3.5. Oh, 3.5.
That's another one that's I think average, good. They definitely, like you said, purplified it. When you hear the original, you'd be like, oh yeah, that one. So it's definitely a little different, a little on the longer side. Maybe it's because it's kind of a song that I've heard a lot before. I'm kind of just like, all right, that's why I was talking about, liking the deeper tracks a little bit more, because they're a little more interesting, because it's like you don't hear them that often, like original or cover versions.
Yep. Well, so this one had backing vocals by Ian Gillan, Nicole Thalia, Marsha B. Morrison, who recorded it at the Junior Gar at Renaissance House Studios. I do have some good news to report, John. The song is Runaway by Del Shannon. It came to me. I just can't think of it when there's another song playing.
Well, yeah,
Hopefully-
I mean, that's a problem. You get that song in your head, and then,
So run away, run away. I'm going to run away with a 3.5 as well on this one. It's good, but yeah, like I think some of those like 50s or early 60s rockers for me can be like a little, obviously I know they were huge to them, but to me, they can be like a little maybe generic sometimes. But obviously good performances all around, great solos. Love hearing Don Airey tear it up on the keyboards, on the piano rather. Really good stuff. Okay, next up we have the track Watching the River Flow. This is a Bob Dylan track, of course, written and composed by Bob Dylan, and backing vocals by Ian Gillan and Bob Ezrin. So what do you know about that? Okay, here we go. Watching the River Flow.
What's the matter with me? much to say. Daylight sneaking through the window and still in his all-night cafe. Walking to and fro beneath the moon.
And I generally like covers of Bob Dylan songs more than I like the original Bob Dylan songs. We talked about, I think,
But I
in
remember
our-
saying that I liked this Bob Dylan song with him doing it.
You liked the Bob Dylan version?
Yes. I remember us talking and saying that this is probably the only Bob Dylan song that I like that he's actually done.
Yeah, that episode came out last week as you're hearing this, but we recorded it a while back, so I don't recall it as well.
Right now I just sit here contentedly and watch the river flow. Well, people disagree just about a thing, yeah, it makes you wonder why. Only yesterday I saw someone on the street who just couldn't help but cry. Oh, this old river keeps on rolling though, whatever way the wind does blow. I just sit here and watch the river flow.
Very piano and keyboard heavy so far. Guitar's just sitting back. That's cool.
People disagreeing everywhere you look, makes you wanna stop, read a book. Only yesterday I saw someone on the street that was really shook. Yeah, this old river keeps on rolling on, whatever way the wind is blowing. As long as it does, I just sit here and watch the river flow. Yes, as long as it does, I just sit here and watch the river flow.
Nice. I saw that like the song ended and there was like 30 seconds left. I said, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Some amazing playing by Don Airey. John, what do you think of Watching the River Flow?
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Mhm.
Honestly, like I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I feel like I like the original better.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. That's because I mean I do remember listening to it and thinking like, wow, this is pretty good.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just think this is another one that's like maybe a little too different or too updated or whatever. I mean, the performances and everything still really good. Just didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I will agree on that one and give a 3 as well. It's really, I loved I love the piano outro, to be honest. All the solos are great, but yeah, Bob Dylan is not really my thing, unfortunately, and I don't even really remember the original when I probably heard it for the last time last week or when we listened to the original. So yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, not it's I guess it's just not really my style of song, I guess, and maybe that's why it doesn't resonate as much with me. But obviously, very well done. So that leaves us with yet one more track for this week's episode until we get together next week and tackle episode number 2 or part 2 of the album. This one is Let the Good Times Roll by none other than Ray Charles and Quincy Jones. That's a power team right there. Written and composed by Fleecy Moore and Sam Theard. This also has backing vocals by Nicole Thalia and Marsha B. Morrison. And then it's got the same horn section as Rockin' Pneumonia does with Leo Green and Matt Holland. Really interested in looking into this one because I love Ray Charles, love Quincy Jones stuff. despite the nasty things he said about the Beatles. I still love his music. But here we go. Let the good times roll. Yeah. God, it's just a saxophone and a trumpet. It sounds like a big band or a full horn section at the least.
Hey everybody, let's have some fun. You only live once, and when you're dead, you're done. Let the good time roll. I said let the good time roll.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a horn section, so I'm digging that.
Wonder if some of that is supplemented by Don Airey's keyboards to make it like sound a little more full.
Yeah, that's quite possible. If he's just hitting the chords in the organ and they've got a similar dynamic range, or if they EQ it similar, it might thicken it up a bit.
I'm talking about the good time. It makes no difference if you're young or old. Let the good time roll.
Nice. Great tone on his guitar in that solo. Man, he's killing it. He sneaks in another solo. It moves to a different keyed instrument. Gives the illusion that he's trading off solos with somebody. But I was thinking it sounded like a Brian Setzer kind of production-wise, like that big band sort of production. And then when Morse came in on the guitar, it almost sounded like he was using a hollow bodied, which maybe he was, but I've never seen him use anything but the, at least in the last 30 years, I've only ever seen him use that Ernie Ball guitar.
Oh yeah, it does have a Brian Seltzer type of
You say Brian
Vibe.
Seltzer?
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Brian Seltzer, right?
Why don't you tell everybody?
Brian Seltzer.
Rockin', rockin',
I guess no. I guess Steve has that acoustic he uses too. So yeah, maybe it's just like maybe he does have a semi hollow body he threw in there.
Play me cheap, I got 50 cents more than I'm ever gonna keep. Let the good time roll. I let the good time roll. Make no difference if you're young or old. Let the good time roll. No matter weather, rainy weather, you wanna have a ball, you got to get yourself together.
Wow, he busted it out.
He really did. Nice.
You can still bust it out every so
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, he's got that more throaty kind of gravelly sound to it, but it's awesome. The man is 75 years old. He can still sing it. So what do you think about Let the Good Times Roll?
Another 3.5 on this one. I think a lot of that has to do with I mean, the first two songs out of the gate were like, all right.
Mhm.
I feel like some of these are a little on the long side. That's where they're losing me a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate these guys jamming and
Sure.
taking solos and love what they do. But for songs like these, I feel like little more direct and to the point would kind of hold my attention a little bit more.
I'm pulling up the originals from our originals episode and just looking at the there we go. Looking at the track length here. So it looks like the original for this one would have been under 3 minutes, and that one was what, 4-ish?
I
They
think so.
tacked on
Yeah.
about another minute there. Watching the River Flow is another one that was a little bit longer. Yeah, so they've extended some of the songs a bit, which to get that Deep Purple solo trade-off thing going, I can understand. I'm gonna have to give this one a 4 just because I love the kind of big band treatment they did to it, and I'm honestly blown away with how they can make it sound like a big band is called a big band because it's big.
It's
This
a
is
big band.
this is a small band. This is just adding 2 horns to the overall mix, and it just sounds huge. Like I said, it reminded me of like the more recent, like last 20 years of Brian Setzer releases and things that he's done with a big band. Like thinking of his, thing probably I listen to most is like his Christmas albums. They come on and they said they've got that clean, crisp, modern production with all the horns, and this had that same tone and sound to it, but they are able to
Yeah.
achieve it with very little being added, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's it's kind of funny that you say that because I was thinking the same thing is like that this kind of has that, within the past, I don't know, say 10 years Christmas album production on it.
Yeah.
Which I mean is not a bad thing because I like that. Some of the I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, I know ones that I like, but I mean like basically whether they, there are a lot of albums that do the classics mixed in with like some originals, like the Gary Hoey Christmas albums, Steve Lukather, that's a tongue twister, like albums like that, like kind of guitar guys like doing these types of songs has that kind of similar I feel production to it, or any of the kind of more in this vein of type of albums. And so when I think it was this one and maybe even like the song before that, I was listening and kind of getting that feeling, but I didn't say it.
Yeah.
But it's obviously, like a thing because you thought it too.
And maybe because it was just Thanksgiving and now we're kind of getting geared up for Christmas. We've started playing some of the Christmas music in the house already. So maybe it's just that's on my mind. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't actually even thinking that. I'm just kind of forgetting like the atmosphere that I'm in. And I mean, I haven't listened to any Christmas music on my own yet. I've just heard it kind of like, in the background, like at work and whatever, a little bit, but,
well, one of my kids starts getting me to try to play, watch Christmas movies, usually starting in June or July. So I just have to push them off as long as I can. Usually the music doesn't come out. I'm pretty firm about the last year. I just was like, with the year we'd had and in lockdown and everything, I was just like, I don't care. November 1st, let's watch Home Alone. Let's just do it. Let's extend the Christmas. We gotta have something to actually look forward to. So yeah, this year I'm trying to hold them off a little bit more, but now it's kind of once Thanksgiving is over in the United States, generally it's usually you hear plenty before that, but it's all, the gloves are off after Thanksgiving. It's full on Christmas all the time.
Pretty much. I
So
mean,
movies.
I refused. Like now I can let it in a little bit, but I have to admit that I can listen to one of my favorite Christmas albums now, which is the Vince Guaraldi Trio, Charlie Brown.
Always good.
Charlie Brown Christmas. That's got to be like, probably one of my tops.
It's top 5 for me for sure. It's a fantastic one. But yeah, so that's the first half of the album. I think it sounds great. I'm really happy with it. And again, I guess you just have to really try to somehow compartmentalize this and understand what this is. And it's not a studio album. And the alternative, like I said, is nothing. And I guess that's what I would say to people that want to be clever and throw up the quips and be all negative about everything that happens. Like, I guess my question is, what would you prefer to have nothing?
What
And
have
if
you
so,
done lately, punk?
and honestly, what are you really gonna how are you gonna defend that standpoint? Like, I'd rather they just did nothing. I it's not the same since Ritchie left, or whatever nonsense you want to get on. Like, who cares?
Well, you know what? I mean, I've been like, all right. So I've been thinking about it a little bit because we've talked about this how many times, when we go like, when we do the impressions of like, if it's not, whatever. So, and I mean, I think that like you should stick with what your favorite version of the band is and just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that, the reason that a lot of people are emotionally attached or like a, certain version of Deep Purple is, I think I read a post about it recently, and it was like somebody was very, what's the word? They were good about it. You know what I mean? They had like a very like measured outlook on it, which is just like, well, the new Deep Purple albums really don't interest me because the Purple that I really fell for was the original, or Mark II, and I mean, yeah, like Ritchie and all those guys brought that sound to it, and that's what originally got me into them, was hearing that and that sound. And when that sound and that dynamic and the way that they play together, or even a certain player, I mean, let's face it, I mean, you hear Ritchie and Rainbow or anything else, and it's undeniable that, like, he was a huge part of, creating that original sound. And you know what? That's fine. That is fine if that's what you like to listen to. And then you just like, all right, like, I don't like what Steve Morse brings to the band. His guitar playing isn't for me. All right, good. I mean, there's plenty of Ritchie stuff out there to consume.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I get it, but I think it's when people start being disrespectful about it, it's just like, it's not gonna bring him back. It's not gonna make Steve Morse play like Ritchie. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's not gonna turn the clock back. It's just like somebody saying like, oh yeah, Gillan sounds like that because of studio magic. Who freaking cares? It's like, the fact that he's like my dad's
it's like,
age,
and you're
and he's
listening to this
still
because
doing
of
it.
electricity. Like, does that make it not count? Like, that's, well, if it wasn't for electricity, you wouldn't be able to listen to this. So, like, who cares?
Right. It's just like, I think I remember like somebody being like, oh, it's not natural, well, crapping indoors isn't natural either. So, it's like,
Yeah. Do you want to forego that luxury?
where you draw the line, with studio magic, or, replacing lineups or something. Like, I heard somebody say something really funny about, I can't remember what it was. It was one of these, like, these bands who are just like, who always have like a revolving door of musicians. I think it was an 80s band. And they're just like, yeah, I want to go see Tora, who was on their like 18th bass player or something like that. It's like, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's just what you're willing to enjoy, and it's just like, if you want to be, a buzzkill about it, then.
Somebody had a great post the other day that I thought, I gotta look it up, but I can't find out who posted it, or the gist of it was basically like, for those people who are unwilling to accept like the newer Deep Purple, I suspect never really listened to much after 1984. You know what I mean? Like, the band was unhappy and miserable together for those last few albums with Ritchie there. And Gillan did yet another interview the other day. I saw it come up where of course they have to ask him about Ritchie. Would you do a reunion with Ritchie and all this? It's like, I feel so bad for Ian Gillan, because I don't know how he doesn't snap and just be like, stop freaking asking me this. I've been answering this question for 30 years. I'm tired of it. But he said, once again, he said it wouldn't be any fun for anybody. It wouldn't. Ritchie would be miserable. We would be miserable. The music we would create would not. Again, we said it a million times. Go listen to Machine Head if that's what you want to hear. But if you think Ritchie coming back now would somehow magically they just kick out another Machine Head style album, no, they're 50 years older. It's not going to happen. So
I mean, honestly, at this point, like if I could interview Ian Gillan, I would ask him and like, hey, do you think that all the members, like all the surviving members of Mark II would ever go out to dinner together? Like that would be more likely to get like an answer of like, yeah, I'd go to the Sizzler.
that's actually a really good question. Yeah, like
Well, yeah, you know what I mean?
Because you could start asking the question in a way where he'd be like, "Oh, here we go with this question again." It's like, would you ever consider with Ritchie Blackmore grabbing a beer together and just chatting about old times?
Well, think about it, right?
Definitely not playing together again.
It's just like, you know, think of it like a high school reunion or like a work reunion with people you used to work with. Like you're not going back to, you know, work with the people you used to work with or like, you know, be in school with those people. But, you know, it's just like maybe they have a fondness for each other and they can't work together. So it's just like, you know, maybe, you know, Ian Gillan is in Richie's neck of the woods and he calls him up and he's like, hey, you want to go to the pub, you know, and who knows, you know, they might get together and grab a few drinks and then that's it. That doesn't mean they got to play music together or like, you know, work on a reunion or anything. It's like maybe they have that type of relationship. Maybe they have no relationship. Who cares? You know,
you could be like, Ian, if Ritchie Blackmore called you up and said, hey, would you join Blackmore's night? Would you do it? Just try to ask some ridiculous questions of him that nobody actually would ever ask him. I think my standpoint, if I ever was able to talk to Ian Gillan, would be like the words Ritchie or Blackmore would never come out of my mouth, because it's boring. It's really boring to talk about.
I just
you know
what
he's going to say because he's answered the question 100 times, so you already know what he's going to say, and also it's just stupid. It's not going to happen. So like why bother?
I just wouldn't want him to get mad. And just be like, all right, this is done. Be like, no, wait. No, wait, come back.
Yeah. Oh my God. Another Ritchie Blackmore question. Great. And just what Ritchie wants to talk about too. Like interview Ritchie and be like, hey, would you want to join back up with, like, clearly, like if Ritchie wanted to, he could do it whatever he wanted. They would do something if the band wanted him to come back for a show or whatever. But everyone has moved on. There's no point in even talking about it. So anyway, back as far as Turning to Crime, great fun. You know, if I can understand the disappointment that's not another studio album if you've got that, but from what I've heard so far, again, it continues to impress me the most about this lineup is after being together for almost 20 years in this form and with Steve almost 30 years, they just continue to still sound like they're having a good time and having fun, and that comes across in the music. And as I think
it's a fun project.
We've kind of referenced back to House of Blue Light because that's the most recent Deep Purple proper album that we've reviewed, but they weren't having. It was clear listening to that they weren't having fun. So it's a really big difference to actually hear them playing together and having a good time. So that's why I leave it. So before we end this episode, we have to do one more thing. And what is that, John?
Thank our core level patrons.
Of course, our foundation level patrons, right? Yes.
Foundation level patrons.
Foundation.
Sorry.
I always get those mixed up.
Sorry, I heard somebody's revving an engine outside the window there. So I went to look and then I was just like, I just said core level. No, core is the middle. Foundation.
Classic neighbor of yours that doesn't care about the show, doesn't care about they don't appreciate. My kids have been remarkably quiet upstairs. I'm pretty surprised, even though their friends is over. They're all playing video games. I thought there'd be some screaming, but they care more about the show than your lousy neighbors. But anyway, our foundation level patrons coming in at the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier: Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Duncan Leask, Stuart McCord, and Flight of the Rat Bat Blue Light. And at the $1 made up name tier, we have the criminally punctured Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Raph Caff, Spike the Rock Cat, JJ Stenard, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, and Ashen Lionel. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. We could not and would not do it without you. All right, John. Well, we will meet back here in 1 week's time to cover the second half of this album, but very much enjoyed going over this first half with you. And
Yeah, definitely.
we'll see you again next week, my friend.
Will do.
Later. Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.